Welcome to yet another Cave Diver React video. My name is Gus. I'm a cave diver. I'm also a normoxic trimix diver and a scuba diving instructor. And, about 6 months ago or so, I saw this video pop up on Facebook. Somebody was sharing it. And the title was something like, we found an underwater air bell deep inside a cave in Florida. Caves in Florida happen to be the place where I like to go cave diving. So I looked at the video, and because I wanted to see such cave bell, and it happened to be like an air bell about 25 feet deep inside Blue Grotto, which is not even a cave. But obviously, the title of the video was misleading. It makes you, want to go and click on it because anything that says cave diving is, attractive. And obviously, if you found like a secret air bell inside a cave, like I have to go see what this is, right? So I was pretty disappointed when I saw that. And I remember making a comment about it like, come on, like this is just a straight up lie to your face. This thing is one of the main features of Blue Grotto. Great place, by the way. I became an instructor of Blue Grotto. Fun fact. I've been there a bunch of times. And it is, again, for beginner divers. It's one of the places where you go to because it's so shallow and so close to the entrance of the cavern that I can't imagine going to Blue Grotto and not going to this thing or not finding the air bell. It's like one of their main features. It's illuminated by underwater lights. So I was kind of disappointed about the video. And then later on, somebody sent me this video that we're going to be reviewing today, title kind of like, again, diving at a dangerous cave in Florida, which I thought it was, obviously another one of those where I'm like, I gotta go see what this is. This place is called Hospital Cove, by the way. Or actually, I think it's called, Hospital Cove or Hospital Hole or something like that in Florida. I've never been here, by the way. But I wanted to go and check it out because, again, it's another one of those, I'm on a dangerous cave, so come check this out. So let's go ahead and start the video and let's react to it live, and I'll give you again my thoughts on it along the way. Cool music.
What is going on, everybody? Joe Oceanside here, and today we are back at Weeki Florida. We are at Hospital Hole.
Cool. Hospital Hole, there you go.
130-foot deep hole right in the middle of the river. So we've got our scuba gear. We're going to drop down in the hole, see how deep we can get, and see what we can find down there, if anything. This is really dangerous, so we're going to bring a dive flag and a rope down with us, so we'll be able to find our way back out if we need to. So, you guys, I was out here at Weeki Florida, and I ran into Brandon Jordan from Jig.
All right, so first off, I thought it was funny that he said, we're going to bring a rope down with us just so we can find the exit if we need it. Look, I look into this hole. First of all, the depth of the hole changes based on the tide. So typically most people agree that it's about 140-foot dive, which is a little bit over 40 meters, which is a deep hole. Like you don't want to go all the way to the bottom if you're not trained for deep diving. However, depending on the tide, again, it could be up to 150 or down to 150 feet, or it can be 130. He's calling it 130. I feel like he missed the opportunity to, exaggerate even more to get more clicks and just make it 150. But anyway, it's a hole. There's no cave on it, so I'm just gonna, if you want to stop watching this video now because it's not a cave where he's about to dive, you can stop now. Like that is the big revelation, I guess. It's just a sinkhole. There's other sinkholes like this one. I will give you some examples as we go along the way, as he talks a little bit more about it. But the whole thing, like, I need to bring a rope just in case, makes no sense at this place. Because we do bring line into caves, that is true. We do bring a line into a cave. However, on a sinkhole that is straight down, there is absolutely no need for a line because you can just go up. There's nothing to stop you, right? It's a hole. Imagine a pool. Imagine bringing a line on a pool, going all the way to the bottom of the pool and saying, oh my God, thank God we have this rope because how can I ever get out of this pool? Just go up. It's not that hard. So, again, it's all for the drama, right? We gotta increase the drama in this video or else people are not gonna subscribe. you know, and Joe Oceanside, I think is his name, is not the only one doing this. I keep seeing video after video after video. You guys send us video after video after video asking us to react to stuff because, again, a lot of people like to put that on the title, say I'm cave diving or I'm in a dangerous cave, when that's not the case. And I feel like, you know, this is dangerous. We're essentially telling people like, look, I have no training, no equipment, no knowledge, no skills, but I still went into a cave. No, you didn't go into a cave, and you shouldn't be promoting diving in caves. If it was in fact a cave, you shouldn't be promoting people from diving into a cave without the proper training and equipment and whatnot. So let's just keep watching because he'll get into this a little bit later.
With Jordan.
All right, so he's with Jordan. I like this guy, and I like Jake too.
Yeah.
They keep it real.
He has an awesome YouTube channel. He does tons of scuba diving, treasure hunting, really awesome stuff, man. So if you have...
All right, let me fast forward really quick.
Clear. Now here's the side of the cavern, and look at this. There's all these scratchings and carvings in the side of the cavern where scuba divers have carved their names into the wall.
By the way, this is common in caverns, especially in caverns where regular divers can go to. You're never going to find graffiti inside a cave. At least I haven't found graffiti inside a cave because people, regular divers, don't go in caves. At least they don't go and graffiti around. They will be freaked out of their mind and trying to get out. So I've never been inside a cave and found graffiti or anything like that. I've actually joked about, you know, maybe taking a sign into like deep in a cave and point it to like a dark tunnel and put a sign that says free hugs this way, just to make cave divers laugh. But of course I'm not doing that. I just thought it would be a funny idea. But this graffiti is like, if you see a bunch of graffitis, you know that regular divers go in there who just go down and have, you know, I can always go up and you can still see sunlight into this thing, and they just scribble on the walls. By the way, under Florida law, you know, damaging cave wall or cavern wall in this case is it's a crime. So if they catch you, you can go to jail and get a fine because you carve your name on a rock. So don't do it.
Hospital hole is kind of like hourglass shape. So when you drop down, you can actually go wider, but you need to be careful because that means you have a wall over your head at that point. And if you look up here, it looks like you're swimming on the side of the Grand Canyon.
Okay, so that is a good example of what he's talking about, the hourglass shape, which means, you know, it starts pretty wide and then it gets a little bit narrow, not super narrow, and then it goes into a slope, you know, as it goes deeper. So what he's talking about is that if you go all the way down and go all the way to the side, like all the way to the wall, you can't just go in a straight line and go up because the wall is at an angle. So if you try to go up, you're going to hit the wall. But you can just go in an angle and get out. Like, it's not, you're not going to get lost. Actually, a Blue Grotto, which we were just talking about before, the cavern is actually a ceiling. It's flat. So if you go up, you will hit the ceiling. You have to like get out of the cavern and then surface. If you see it from the outside, you can see the pool and there's a wall, and under that wall is where the cavern is. So Blue Grotto, in terms of getting out of there, is actually trickier than this place. This place you can just go up, and the slope, I guess, in the wall, it's not a huge slope. So even if you hit the wall, like even if you were like narked or whatever, like you were blind, like let's just say something happened to your eyes, and we will get to this in a second of what could happen to your eyes. But let's say you were blind, you can't see anything, you will literally hit the slope and keep going up because the walls are, you know, slick. There's nothing to hold you down. You would just hit and keep going.
It's crazy. It's such a cool experience.
All right, so notice here, I don't know if this is his dad, but notice here that they're diving with regular open circuit, and they're diving with a tank of air, just regular air, you know, in this hole, which is fine. It's just a hole. You go down with air and come out, and no big deal. There's not a lot of risk of getting lost here, although there is a risk of getting caught up into solution tubes, which he's going to get into in a couple of seconds.
Take a look at my dive computer watch. You can see I'm down at about 61 feet right now.
Yep.
Look at the sides of the wall here. It's basically all rock at this depth. There's no growth anymore. We're at 68 feet. The light does not penetrate deep enough into the water to make it grow. Now look at my dive buddy.
That's not right. So here's what's happening. Right around 70 feet in this hole, there's a layer of hydrogen sulfide. This happens in several sinkholes, especially sinkholes that are close to the coast. And the reason for that is that there's something called hydrogen sulfide, which is a chemical, basically, which is generated naturally. Our bodies generate it, and also other microorganisms generate it as well. But what happens is that salt water, in case you didn't know, because of the high concentration of salt in the water, things that float in salt water, let's say in the ocean, don't necessarily float in fresh water. Fresh water has less, well, it doesn't have any salt, so it has less density. So what happened with hydrogen sulfide is that is light enough or buoyant enough to float above the salt water, but not enough to float above the fresh water. So it's kind of caught up in the middle. So in this place, you have 140 feet, 70 of it is fresh water. Then you have like 10 of hydrogen sulfide, and then you have the rest, whatever, all the way to the bottom of salt water. So you're sandwiched in the middle. Whenever those two waters come together, there's an effect that is generated when you're diving, and this is called a halocline. Halocline is a combination of fresh water and salt water coming together. Now, you're not going to find hydrogen sulfide between these two layers everywhere. For example, I dove in a cave in Mexico where both fresh water and salt water came together, creating a halocline. Now, a halocline is super trippy and interesting when you don't have the hydrogen sulfide in between. Because with hydrogen sulfide is pretty much like this murky, awful liquid. It's actually poisonous. It's the liquid. If you swallow it, you die. Actually, people have committed suicide by intaking this thing. It will burn your eyes. It will burn your throat. It's so potent that you can breathe it through your mask, and it smells like rotten eggs. It's literally like liquid farts that are also poisonous. It's awful stuff. It was used in World War I as a weapon when they ran out of gas. They used this thing as a weapon. England did. It's just awful stuff. And talking to one of my diver buddies who's chemistry enthusiast, he said the stuff is so nasty that if there's a lot of it, you won't even feel it, because it's also in gas. You won't even feel it. You just die. Like, it's just straight up poison. So if that stuff gets in your eyes or whatever when you're diving, you're probably gonna have to ascend blind, which is, it's tough. I've been at other places that have layers like this. Hudson Grotto, for example, in Florida too, has a layer of hydrogen sulfide. Hudson Grotto, funny enough, was started by absolute cave legend Paul Heinerth. Paul Heinerth is one of the inventors of cave diving. He was the instructor of one of the, in my opinion, top 3 best cave divers in the world. His name is Brian Kaycock. He lives in the Bahamas and essentially dives for a living. So Paul was Brian's instructor, and Brian is Woody's instructor. Woody, my co-host on Dive Talk, he's been on videos here before. So you can see it's a very, very small community. It's a small world, when it comes to cave diving, and you have the opportunity to do it with the people that invented it yet. It's a new sport or a new thing, let's just say. Started about in the 70s or so. So those people are still around. I had the fortune of meeting Paul Heinerth before. So he's still alive. Total legend. Brian Kaycock, legend. And again, the Hudson Grotto, which was, again, started by Paul Heinerth, still exists today. You can dive there today. Great place for training. Has a layer of hydrogen sulfide that whenever I went, the first time I went, it was like, just go quickly through it. So as soon as you hit that layer, just keep going. Don't clear your mask. Don't let water into it. Just go through it, punch through it to get to the salt water, because you don't want to hang out on the hydrogen hydrogen sulfide. I keep getting messed up with that. So once again, what they're hitting right now is that layer, and he's talking about like, oh, we're so deep that the light doesn't even get here. No, the light doesn't get there because of the hydrogen sulfide, and the stuff doesn't grow on it because of the hydrogen sulfide, which is poison, as we already established. So it's not the light, is this stuff in the water. But you know, in Mexico, when I went diving on that cave, you can see the halocline. There's no hydrogen sulfide. You can see the two waters coming together, salt water and fresh water, and it's super trippy. Everything looks like if you were looking through one of those like glasses that are not see-through glasses, like the stuff they put in like bathrooms and stuff, that you kind of see a shape but you don't really see behind it. It's the weirdest thing. It's like if you think about when you're driving somewhere that is really hot and you look ahead in the distance and you see like that stuff, you know, in the distance by the heat. Imagine that, but right in your eyes. So it is not far in the distance. It's just right in your eyes. You look at your hand and it looks all distorted. Is the craziest thing, and not something that I enjoyed going through at all. Like I went through it and I'm like, I just went to the bottom. Like I wanted to be either on the fresh water or the salt water, but you never want to be on a halocline. You can't see anything. Is the worst thing ever. There's another effect in water which is called thermoclines, which are different than haloclines. Thermoclines is when the temperature drops significantly and you can see kind of a cold water, you know, mixing with a warmer water, and you can still see that effect, but it's way weaker. You have to really be paying attention to be able to see it, but it's pretty cool. Like you can be right on a thermocline and still kind of see the effect. With a halocline, you don't have to try hard at all. You straight up feel like your eyes are broken and you can't see anything. It's really, really weird. When you have a layer of hydrogen sulfide like this, it's easy. You see the hydrogen sulfide. It's like a sewer water. I mean, that's how it looks, and you just want to go through it and keep going. You don't want to hang there. So that's where these guys are at right now. Oops. Sorry, fast forward. By the way, I wanted to point out, if you're going to do something like that, if you're going to do a dive like this, get some good gear and go on a dive. Like I just see him, Joe. He has, I mean, one of the cheapest dive computers I've ever seen, followed by probably the cheapest dive light I've ever seen. Those lights, I've seen them before. They sell 2 for $25 on Amazon. So if you're going into a dangerous cave dive, do you really want to take a $12 light into a dangerous cave dive? I mean, just get a real, you don't have to get the most expensive light, of course, but get something that, you know, you can trust with your life. Literally.
Actually down in the murky layer. You
Murky
can barely
layer.
see them.
Yeah.
We're starting to lose visibility down here, and this is what makes hospital holes so dangerous. If you go too low, you hit the murky layer, and you can almost not even see about 3 feet. Look, my dive buddy's gone.
The fact that they're there just hanging around in this layer, just like, oh my God, I lost you. Oh, I mean, they're just diving in poison, and they're just hanging there because they think it's cool that they can see each other. Again, not everyone knows about this, but I wanted to share with you just in case you get to go there or get to go to Hot Sun Grotto. If you go through that layer, keep going. Typically, the water is way clearer after you pass through it.
He's about 6 feet away from me, and I can't even see him anymore. So at this point, we're at
73,
feet.
74. So like I said, between 70 and 80, that's when you get that layer.
That's where the murky layer is. So we either need to get below it or we need to just stay above it. So we're going to come back above it where it's a little bit safer here.
That's smart too, because he has one tank of air, and the deeper you go, the faster you go through your air. So if you're going to go beyond 80 feet, the dive is going to get cut tremendously, so might as well stay high, like around 60. And it's funny because when he started the video, he said, I'm going to go as deep as I can go, and obviously they didn't even make it through the layer, the murky water, as he calls it, on the layer.
Look at my dive buddy. He's just hanging out.
Yep.
Look at all these scratchings in here, all these carvings. This is kind of interesting. It's kind of like graffiti. I don't know if I like it or not, but it is interesting to look at with my dive light.
I hate it.
Now, ooh, looks like my dive buddy found something interesting up here. He's shining his light into little, these are little captive air pockets here. So these are little upside down pockets, and the air from our scuba tanks is actually getting caught in there. And it's kind of interesting. You can stick your hand up in these little Swiss cheese holes almost.
It is cool. You see my blue grotto too, everywhere. It looks like liquid nitrogen kind of thing. Lower the volume a little bit.
Going along the wall more, this is a huge wall and there's quite a bit to explore. You have some cracks in here. Now this could be dangerous. It looks like some of these boulders could actually fall out at some point. This has been known to happen in caverns.
No, that's not true. Has it happened before in history? Sure. It has happened before in history with something can collapse. You actually get that warning when you go to Blue Grotto. They tell you, hey, look, things could happen. Things can collapse, just so you know, but I don't think it's happened in decades. It is not common to have an accident when you get trapped because something collapsed, unless you are a cave explorer. Believe it or not, if you thought that cave diver was the tip of the spear, most dangerous thing you can do, I wouldn't even try that for $1 million type of thing. No. The most dangerous thing, if that's a thing, the gnarliest thing, the tip of the spear thing, let's just call it, that you can do is actually cave exploring. These are the people that go into a cave for the first time. No one has ever seen what they're about to see with their eyes. They are laying line. They're going in for the first time. Those are the people that in the past, and there's not a whole lot of them, have died because something collapsed on them. And typically, the collapses in caves are caused, the ones that are being explored, are caused because the water inside, let's say on the ceiling of the cave, is keeping that water pressure, it's keeping the rock up. So as you breathe air into it, that water that was holding the boulder or whatever it is, the piece of the cave up, it's now replaced by air, which means there's nothing pushing it anymore, and it can collapse. There are things like that that have happened in the past. Cave explorer, there are amazing divers, have died because of it, but I would say it has to be less than 5 in history. So it's not a whole lot. As far as I know, I've only known of two deaths that happened because of cave collapses. I don't know if there's more. There's probably more, but there's probably no more than 5. So he makes it sound like, guys, don't come here because these boulders could collapse at any point. I mean, look at how many graffitis and crap they've written all over these things, and they're still there standing. How many divers have been through it? How many earthquakes? How many floods and storms, and there they are with all the stupid graffiti still standing. So the likelihood of any of this stuff collapsing on you when you're doing this dive is 0, almost 0. All right.
To have boulders fall out randomly, so that's why you got to be really
randomly
careful down here.
You're gonna be diving and whoa, just trying to duck the boulders after they fall off the sky. Stop it.
Looks like my dive buddy found a little hole up here. Let's go take a look at it. Now all around Hospital Hole, there's these little tubes and little holes that break off. They form little caves, and I'm not really sure where they go. It doesn't look like they have an exit. And this is extremely dangerous here. This is how divers get in trouble. If they go too deep into these holes, they can either kick up silt and lose visibility or get stuck, or they have an emergency and they lose their mind and they don't know to come back down and then up. They try to go straight up into the hole and then they're stuck in there forever and they die. So it's really dangerous. I'm going to go peek up in this hole and see what I can see.
Yep, so what he's talking about is true.
See how far up in this hole we can get.
Solution tubes like this, that's the name of it.
That hole, it just goes on as far as I can see. My bubbles are just going straight up into it.
Right.
Now this is about as far as I want to go, so I'm going to back up out of here. This is not safe. I am not a cave diver, and I don't know how to do it properly, so I'm not going to mess around in here.
So I appreciate the fact that he accepts, I'm not a cave diver. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not going to go in anymore. Those holes, as he calls it, and he calls them little caves. They're not caves. They're just solution tubes. They're created by the water when this was a spring, just pushing, trying to exit. And once it collapsed and became a sinkhole, then the holes are the water is no longer trying to push or trying to exit out of it. As far as I understand, based on the research that I did, There's only one of them that goes all the way to the surface. Most of them stop at like 20 or 10 feet from the surface. So people have gone in those tubes, and as far as they could go, and then they come out. I do agree, though, and I appreciate this. So, Joe, I give you props for this. Good job. I do agree that you should not go into those things. I personally am a cave diver and won't go into those things because, yes, you get launched. You get launched in a way that is hard to get out. And if you get stuck on that and all your gear is stuck, your rebreather or your tank or whatever is stuck on that, you have to know how to get out of it. And unless you're a cave explorer, I would say don't even try, even if you're a cave diver. Now, cave divers, we kind of know our capabilities. We see a hole and we know if we should try to go for it or not. I've been in many, many, many situations where I've had to decide whether I should go through it or not. So we kind of gauge it, but a hole like that, no chance I'm going in.
Take a look at that little peace sign somebody scratched in the wall.
Awful.
And just above this peace sign is another hole that we could go through, but we're definitely not going to go through. Now, this is a really big hole here.
Good job, Joe, for not going in.
This is almost like a little cave.
And if you are diving at this place, don't go into these holes. Like, go up to that, check it out,
again, cave
and then
diving
come down.
is very dangerous, and it takes a lot of training and experience
True.
to do it properly. And I am not a cave diver. I'm not interested in becoming a cave diver. It seems really scary to me.
It's not scary, Joe.
So we're just going to
come and join
peek
us.
in this hole, and we're going to get right out.
Get
You
certified.
can see if I turn my bright light on, it actually lights up all the silt in there, and that silt makes you start to lose visibility, and that's what's really dangerous for cave divers is silt. When you kick up the silt from the walls of the cave, you can lose visibility really fast.
True.
And we're going to keep moving along. This is a huge hole, and it takes a little bit to swim around the whole entire rim of the hole. But I want to show you this here. This is what makes cave diving so dangerous. This is silt. So take a look at this ledge here. This is like a cracked ledge on the edge of the wall. And I'm going to grab this, and you're going to see how fine this silt is. This silt is just years and years of decayed wood and organic material coming down from above, and it settles on the rocks. And look at this. If you stir it up, it's just like powder. It just fills up everything. You can't see through it. Very, very dangerous.
That is true. So what he's talking about in terms of the silt, it is true. But all of this is covered during training. We actually learn types of silt, and based on the type of silt, the material, it's not always, you know, the same one that he's doing on the video. Based on the type of silt, we know how long would the silt would stay up in the water before it settles all the way back down. So if you stir up a type of silt, it could be there for weeks, and you have to get out without being able to see anything. I've done that at Peacock Springs, for example, where the silt is, you know, that fine silt that will stay up forever. But then there's other silt, funny enough, in other places within the same cave system at Peacock Springs that is very thick and falls immediately. Like, you can pick it up just like he did, and it will just fall to the ground, and it doesn't stay in the water. So we spend time learning about silt and how to deal with it. And also we spent a bunch of time learning about kick and finning techniques so we don't stir up the silt. Like, that is a big part of learning how to be a cave diver, is learning not to kick like a regular diver, but kick like a cave diver so the silt is undisturbed at least as much as possible.
So now we're going to go up very slowly. When you're scuba diving, you have to ascend very slowly. If you go up too quickly, you run the risk of damaging your lungs, and you also run the risk of developing nitrogen bubbles in your bloodstream. So
that is half true. If you go up too quick, the risk of damaging your lungs is not because of your ascent rate. It's not because of the fact that you're going fast. It's because of you not releasing air quick enough, and the air expanding in your lungs. It can cause your lungs to blow up or to expand too far and injure them. Okay, so what he's talking about is we learn to go slow. It's 30 feet per minute or 10 meters per minute is the ascent rate. So we go slow, so that gives you a chance of slowly blow the air and you keep breathing along the way as you ascend. But also to counter those bubbles in the blood, which are caused by nitrogen. Everyone bubbles every time you dive, but because we stay as a recreational diver, we stayed within the no decompression limits, which you will learn as a scuba diver, or you already learn if you're a scuba diver watching this, then those bubbles are not going to be a problem. You will not have a mandatory stop, also known as decompression stop. So you can go to the surface at any point. So you can ascend faster. Like if you run out of air, you're not going to be like, okay, I'm at 60 feet. Let me ascend at 30 feet per minute and take my time. You're not. You're going to just go bolt to the surface. Just because you go up fast doesn't mean that you're going to blow up your lungs. Just like if you ascend slow, but you hold your breath, even if you go slower than 30 feet per minute, if you're holding your breath, you will damage your lungs. So the lung damage, or the chances of damaging your lungs, is not necessarily connected to the ascent rate. It's more about whether you're holding your breath or not. The bubbles, on the other hand, which he's talking about, is something that as you ascend little by little, those bubbles expand. So we go slow, so the expansion of those bubbles in the bloodstream is not sudden. So that's why we're going slowly but surely ascending, which is what he's talking about.
Part of scuba diving training is you learn how to ascend very slowly.
Correct.
And also you follow your dive computer and make sure you're not ascending too quickly. Now we found another hole here. Let's take a look up in this hole. This hole is actually kind of interesting because you can actually see all the way up through this hole, and I can see daylight at the top of this hole. Here, take a look.
So there's only one of these solution tubes.
So this hole actually goes all the way up. I could go through there, but man, I'm a little scared. I don't think my dive tank's gonna fit in there. No, I'm not doing that.
Good, smart.
Maybe as a free diver you could go through there, but again, extremely dangerous. If you started going up in that tube and you found out you couldn't fit, it could be really bad.
It will be as bad as dying. So yeah, it would be really, really bad. I agree with that. Very smart for him not to go. I wouldn't have gone either. But once again, cave explorers do this all the time. I actually lined up another video of one of like my absolute best, most favorite people in the world, Mike Young, who is the creator of Kiss Rebreathers, the rebreathers I used to dive, and a absolute stud, world-class cave diver and explorer. He actually became, it's funny, we recorded an interview with him for the podcast, for the episode of cave diving. He became a cave explorer before becoming a cave diver. It's like the weirdest thing. I've never heard anyone do this, but if there's anyone who can do it, is Mike Young. There's a funny joke about Mike from all the stuff that he does, and if you watch his videos, like I can watch videos of Mike Young diving 24/7. Like I never get bored because it's unbelievable, and I would never do any of the stuff that he does. One time somebody sent him a plate or a side mount plate for him to test, and sent him a 10-foot or 3-meter crotch strap. You get the point of what this manufacturer thought he had, that is so big that he needs a 3-meter or 10-foot strap. So let me show you a quick video that he posted today, funny enough, because this is the kind of people that would go through one of these solution tubes. Check this out. Mike Young, total stud. Look at this, pushing tanks. And then, just look at this. It's crazy. It's crazy awesome. Like the music, too, to make it even more suspenseful. Look at that. Oh, my God. I love that guy. But that is going through holes like that. The one that Mike Young went to, by the way, was way tighter than the one that he just saw. I actually think Mike would have gone through that hole all the way to the surface without removing any gear, and he would have made it without even scratching it.
Now take a look. We're up higher now. This is the side of the wall where the light from the sun actually penetrates, and you're starting to get growth on the side, like algae.
Again, not because of the light, but mainly because there's no
look at this.
hydrogen
Someone
sulfide
dropped
there.
a lighter on us. We were swimming along, and all of a sudden a lighter came down from overhead. So someone in a boat up top must have dropped their lighter in the water. take a look at it. I'm actually gonna try and light it underwater, and you can see the methane gas coming out of the lighter. Kind of cool.
I am so glad that this is just a regular cheapo lighter that doesn't light underwater. There's matches and lighters that light on the water. I'm glad this is not one of them, because the hydrogen sulfide is actually highly flammable. Like, if you try to light it up, it will light on fire underwater. That's how flammable it is. So the fact that this didn't work was a good thing, although I think that they are pretty shallow at this point. They're probably around 20 feet or so, or 25, 30, and they're far away from that layer, but I'm glad that the lighter didn't work.
Cool. I'm gonna put that in my pocket and throw it in the garbage later. Now look at this. There's all these little bits of debris that are floating down from above. Maybe someone in a boat kicked it up or something, but it's just beautiful. I feel like I'm in outer space or something, man. This is just like a dream world down here.
I don't know about a dream world. I'd rather see super clear water, personally, but it happens. You just dive through it.
Now I'm higher up in the hole. I'm about 25 feet, and I'm actually taking a safety stop. So scuba divers need to take a safety stop after diving really deep. When you go down really deep underwater, the pressure actually forces nitrogen gas into your bloodstream. And if you come up too quickly, the nitrogen gas can turn into little bubbles. And it's a very, very serious condition that can injure you or kill you.
Well, I mean, there's so much to unpack there about what forces nitrogen into your blood, whether it's air pressure or not. I'm not gonna go into that because then I'll need, a whole hour to go into that. But we do a safety stop just for safety. It's not a mandatory stop. You can actually skip it, but we say do it every dive. Your computer actually tells you when to stop and for how long. And, he mentioned that we do a safety stop every time we do a deep dive. No, we do a safety stop every time we do a dive, unless your dive was at the safety stop depth, which is, again, 20 to 15 feet. That's typically what we're looking for. So if you just did a 1 hour dive at 20 feet, no need to stop. Like, your whole dive was a safety stop. So you're not going to stop again. Like, you were diving the whole time there. If you dive past 30 feet, let's just say, you'll do a safety stop. So even if you were at 35, I would say stop at 20 or 15 feet for 3 minutes and then keep going up. Depending on your computer and your dive profile, if you go super deep, let's say you went all the way to the bottom of this hole, which is around 140 feet, as I mentioned before, which I think I heard that there's a boat all the way to the bottom. So it could have been interesting. I wish he went all the way to the bottom, like he mentioned he was going to do at the beginning. But, if he went all the way to the bottom, most likely it would have made him stop for 5 minutes. So your computer actually makes that happen, at least sheer water computers, which is what I dive with. I don't know if that computer would have done it, but it typically suggests that you make a little bit of a longer stop to allow those bubbles in your blood to kind of dissolve and you come up with no problems. But again, as long as you stay within the limits, which you learn as a diver, unless you go into tech diving, which is most divers, I would say overwhelming majority of divers, 99% perhaps of divers never go into tech diving or decompression diving. So most divers can actually go to the surface and you're not going to be bent. You're not going to have decompression sickness. More than likely you will not have that. I would say I've never seen anyone that missed a safety stop and had decompression sickness unless they went beyond those limits. But again, as dive planning, and this is something that he said that is true, during your training, you learn how to do all of this. And as long as you stay within those limits, no problem.
My dive buddy's all the way up at the rim of the hole. And take a look here. This is what can make Hospital Hole so dangerous here, is all this silt. So if people above you kick up all this silt and sand, you can lose visibility really quick. So if you're down there and you think you know which way is up and all of a sudden you lose visibility, now you don't know which way is up or down, it can make for a very dangerous situation.
You know what knows what way is up or down? Your computer. So as long as you can see your computer and your computer still works, even in low visibility, which, I mean, for you to lose full visibility on a sinkhole like this, there has to be no silt left on the walls. Like it would be pretty hard for you to see that there's no visibility at all. But if you look at your computer, you start swimming and your computer says you're going up, then you're going up. And not only tells you that you're going up, it tells you your rate of ascension, which means how fast are you going up. So you stay within the 30 feet per minute or 10 meters per minute rate. So your computer is the secret to this, right? As you become a diver, invest in a good dive computer, because even if you lose all your senses, your computer can really help you, get out of there safely. It's not going to do the dive for you, but it's, very, very important to have really good gear when it comes to scuba diving.
So I'm coming up really slowly here, and take a look at this. There's air bubbles streaming out of the ground. So those air bubbles are actually from our dive tanks. When we're down there breathing and we're actually under in the hole, those air bubbles get trapped up in the cave and they find a way to make it up to the surface. So they stream out in different places. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and earlier he mentioned that, silting is, why cave diving is dangerous. That's not necessarily true. Is one of the things that makes cave diving awesome for me personally, because we learn how to deal with it. But there's a ton of caves that silting is not a problem at all. Like in Florida, where we dive a little river, for example, and you can Google this up, you can dive at the Devil's System, which is Ginny Springs. There's so much current coming out, it's a spring, that if you silt it up, the silt just blows off because of the current just pushes it away. So you can always see, and it's very forgiving. Little River has pretty strong current. I can just kick the floor like as much as I want to. I don't, because I'm a cave diver and I avoid it. But if I wanted to, I can kick up the floor and it will never change my vision. My visibility would remain perfect because the silt is just taken away. So silting is not why cave diving is dangerous. Cave diving is dangerous if you think about, danger, because you can come up whenever you want to. That's just not an option when you're inside a cave. You're 1,000 feet in a cave and you have a problem, you can't just come up. You can come up in this hole. That's why it's not a cave. If you have a problem, doesn't matter where it is. You can be all the way to the bottom, 130 feet. You have a problem. Hey, my tank blew up. Buddy, that's why you dive with a buddy. Let's breathe together and let's get out of here. You thumb the dive, or, thumbs up. Let's go up. And you just come up. Whenever you have a problem, whenever you want, at any point, especially if you stay within the no decompression limits, you can always just come up to the surface. No problem. That's why it's super safe to stay outside of a cave. Cave diving, the danger of cave diving is because you cannot do that. You cannot just come out. So when you have a problem, you have to deal with it. You can't just abort. And that's it. You have to deal with the problem. And the same thing is true, when you're doing technical diving. Like whenever we do super deep dives, if I go down to 200 feet, for example, my computer is going to tell me that I no longer have a safety stop. Now it's a deco stop or a mandatory stop. My ability to just come out when I have a problem is no longer an option. You're out of luck. You cannot just come out. If you just come out, you die because of decompression sickness. Or potentially. You can go into a chamber and maybe survive. But your stops are mandatory now. You have to stop, or else you can, be seriously injured. So if I have a problem at depth, let's say at 200 feet, my tank blows up. Now I cannot just come up. I have to make my stops along the way. And that's why tech diving is more advanced. Not a whole lot of divers go into that. What he's talking about, silting is the problem here and what makes this hole dangerous. To me, silting is what makes it less enjoyable, not really dangerous. You're still diving, it's still open. I wouldn't discourage people from, if you're watching this video and you're a diver and he's making it sound like, oh man, this guy went into a dangerous cave. I don't know if I can do that. I wonder if I can do that. Go do it. It looks like a cool place to dive. I see no problem, going and diving here as long as you stay within your limits. Right? If you're not a deep diver, don't go all the way to the bottom. If you're younger than, let's say, 12 years old, don't go to 100 feet. You can't, right? So you want to stay within your limits, and as long as you stay within your limits, have at it. No problem.
And then this hole here is actually the top of one of those little caves that we looked up through.
Little caves.
So it looks like a pretty big hole, but still, I wouldn't want to go through there with my scuba tank, maybe with free diving. So you can see now I'm back in that swirly layer, and I'm making my way up through the murky layer, and then I'm back up.
No
at
murky
the
layer.
surface
This is just the
at
water.
Hospital Hole on the Weeki-Wachee River. And check this out. This is such a beautiful place. This is one of the few places where it's almost as more beautiful above the water as it is below the water. I love it, in the middle of the woods.
Most of these, by the way, springs are like that. They're beautiful before you go in, and obviously underneath, especially if you go in caves, they're beautiful as well. But I like this place. I think it's cool. I would go diving there. Obviously, there's no cave in there, so it wouldn't be a cave dive. There's no situation, as far as I researched and I read, they would make me write this down in my cave diving log. I keep a separate log just for cave diving. There's no way that I would do this. At Hudson Grotto, there's actually a little cave. You can go into a little cave. It's not deep, but at that point, if you go all the way to the end of that cave, which is the deepest point of the whole dive site, by the way, then that one could count as a cave because you're very far away from light. There's just no chance. That one I would say is a cave, but this one, it's not. Even though it's murky, you know, that layer that we talked about, even though you can go to the bottom and basically almost no light, you know, is there, I would say it's a cavern at best. It's not a cave, and definitely not a dangerous one. So if you can go dive there, go for it. Looks like a pretty cool spot. I think the video is pretty much done. And again, I didn't want to make this just a criticism on Joe Oceanside specifically. I want to make this more of a criticism in all of these different YouTube channels that are taking advantage of cave diving as a way to attract clicks and attract subscribers. You know, I always tell people, I'm not going to lie about the content and about the things that we do in this channel just to get subscribers. If you're not enjoying the content, if you're not enjoying like the honesty and all of the value that we're bringing from the real world and fact-based side, then don't subscribe. Like, don't keep watching our videos, because that's what we do. If you appreciate the facts and, you know, kind of our opinion as experts, then, you know, consider subscribing and hitting like and liking our videos. Of course, we want to grow, but we want to grow in a way that we get people that are interested in learning more about this, and not just, you know, me trying to scare you and tell you that, you know, diving is suicidal, watch me do it. Like, no, like, dude, you know, it's you saying that you're in a dangerous cave and at the same time telling people I have no training and I can see that your gear is also not top notch. It just makes it awful, in my opinion. And Joe is not the only one. Tons and tons of channels, scuba diving channels out there, are all there for the clicks, and trying to, you know, be deceiving in terms of telling you what really is happening or where they're diving. And, you know, that's why we get suggestions about reviewing some of these videos and some of these channels, because it literally makes no sense. So this is not about Joe, a criticism on him personally. A lot of people are doing this. It could have been any of the examples that I've seen before. There are more videos that we want to review. If you have any suggestions, please go ahead and send them over to us. Joe has some good content in there. He recorded some other videos, you know, from this place as well, with manatees and stuff. Pretty cool stuff. I wouldn't say don't go and you know, don't watch him or don't subscribe. If you enjoy his videos, go for it. Just like with him and other channels, just be careful about what you're watching, because that might not always be, you know, the exact fact-based information about these places. And, you know, I enjoy reviewing them, so if you want me to keep doing that, please let me know. And also, if you want to learn how to dive, please let me know. I'm happy to advise and point you in the right direction. Even to Joe, he mentioned on the video, like, you know, I'm not a scuba diver, it's dangerous, I don't know if I ever want to do that. You should check it out, man. You know, go and get the training. It is true that it's hard training and hard skills. It is like the black belt of diving, but it's very rewarding, and it makes you a way better diver. Like, for just regular diving in the open water, just like diving at sea, it makes you way better at it. Buoyancy control, finning, just techniques, awareness, you know, rescue skills, like just on and on and on, and just straight up just keeping your cool, because again, the ability to go to the surface no longer exists. So when you have a problem, you have to be able to keep your cool, figure out a solution, and get out of there safely. So it makes you just a much better diver. So for Joe and anyone else that wants to become a cave diver, I say go for it, do it responsibly, go to a place locally that can train you, reputable instructor, reputable shop, and get trained. It's pretty awesome and very rewarding. So I don't think we have to finish watching the whole video. I think you got the gist of it. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. If you enjoy this video, please, again, give us a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more content like this one. Also, if you have other people that that would enjoy something like this, please feel free to share with them and help us grow as a YouTube channel so we can continue to, once again, share our knowledge and best practices and all of that. We're going to try, me and Woody, who are the co-hosts of Dive Talk, are going to try to review videos together. I don't know how that works unless he like sits in my lap and I use him like a, like a ventriloquist. I don't know how we're going to make it work. We're trying to, figure out a setup right here with 2 cameras maybe, where we both can stop the video. We'll see how we can make it work, but I think that some of the videos coming up in the future will make more sense for both of us to review them. That way you get, kind of both of our perspectives at the same time. So thank you so much if you're a subscriber, and we'll see you in the next one.